Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it. Well, what a semi-final we had in Abu Dhabi. But today, it's going to be Australia versus high-flying Pakistan. And to discuss about what's going to happen in Dubai, we have Shane Watson, who has been analyzing everything very well. In fact, I read a beautiful article today on Crick Info where Shane Watson said he need to bring the fielder in and Miller will pay the price. And that's what happened. We don't give it to the part-time bowlers. They will leak runs. And that's what happened. So I'm not sure what advice he's given to the Australian team, but we'll discuss for our fans what he's going to advise. How are they going to stop the high-flying Pakistan? Welcome to the show, Shane.
Thanks, Anis. Thanks for your kind words. Yes, what a semi-final we had to start with, New Zealand and England, and now this one, Australia-Pakistan, I think is going to be an absolute blockbuster. These teams match up incredibly well, and Pakistan have just been absolutely on fire. They've just brought their best T20 games and just kept bringing them every single game. So, goodness me, Australia are going to have to be at their absolute best to be able to find a chink in Pakistan's armour.
So, we all know Pakistan have been unbeaten for almost 5 years or 6 years in UAE. The last time they lost was on a super over. So what does Australia do different to stop the Pakistan juggernaut in UAE?
For me, probably one of the biggest things playing against Pakistan in general is to try and make sure that you get off to a good start. So if you're batting first, not allow Pakistan into the game. And then the same thing when you're bowling the second innings, for example, just get off to a good start, because Pakistan, they've always been, the history of Pakistan cricket is if they get into the game and get off to a great start, then their emotions and energy, they're just all galvanized together and just all one. And they're up and about, their energy's up and about. But if you're able to hold them at bay and then just keep them at bay for quite a while, that's when their energy can go down. They can start to get a tiny bit of infighting and things just shift a little bit. But at the moment, they're getting into games straight away because they've been so dominant with the brand new ball, for example. Shane Afridi, Imad Wazim have been absolutely brilliant. So they have got into the game and the teams haven't been able to fend them off in any way. So for Australia to be able to get over Pakistan, they need to not let Pakistan into the game at all, because Pakistan have been playing incredibly well. They're so galvanized as a unit. I want to ask a few questions of how united they are. And the only way to do that is to be able to try and just not get them into the game. Take them on, but just do what you can to not get wickets or get them to get some runs and build a partnership, because as soon as you do, Pakistan, they're unbeatable.
You mentioned a very brilliant point. Do not allow Pakistan to get into the game. Don't give them a good start, whether you're batting first or batting second. Now, you've seen that in the first match, Shaheen Shah Afridi got the better of India. And then in the second game, there was Haris Rauf who got 4 wickets against New Zealand. So I'm sure Finch, who generally is having issues with the left arm ball coming in, you feel he will still change his style the way Virat Kohli probably bat a little further ahead of his crease?
Yeah, look, I don't think so. Just looking at statistics in the lead up to this game, Aaron Finch to left arm fast bowlers, he's only got out twice in his whole T20 international career, and he averages 170 at a high strike rate. So, and I would have thought because of just his setup in general, technical setup, that wouldn't have been the case. But it's incredible numbers. So Shane Shah Afridi is going to test that out because he's bowling fast, late swing in. So he's going to test out those numbers. So from my perspective, just seeing how Aaron Finch lines up to left armers, then that's a great matchup for the Australians. Dave Warner, the way he's scored very quickly off Imad Wazim, he's played him quite a bit, and he's got a strike rate of 240 or 250 off Imad Wazim. So from Australia's point of view, they've got to try and capitalise on those two things and try and make the most of that. But yes, well, Shane Shah Afridi, the way he's bowling, if he's up and about again, like he was against India, finding the right intensity level, he is just so unbelievably good. From ball one, he is on the money. Speed, late swing, especially to the right-hander in particular. We could see even in a couple other games, Shane Shah Afridi was just a little bit too excitable, and he went a little bit too hard. and he wasn't absolutely his best. So from Australia's point of view, they probably hope that he's a bit too amped. And he's just, because once he finds his sort of right intensity level like he did against India, goodness me, some of those balls he bowled were just absolutely outrageous. And no batsman in the world is going to keep those out. So the Aussies are going to have to really try and capitalise on their matchups. And Aaron Finch, hopefully those numbers continue to stay how they are and he's able to dominate Shane Shah-Afridi.
So remember, Shaheen Shah Afridi, or any of the fans listening to the show, inform Shaheen Shah Afridi not to get too high and keep his emotions in the check. That's what Swatto says. Now, let me come to a very, one player who was in great form in IPL, the big show, Maxwell. What has happened to him in this tournament? Not seen much runs coming. His batting position been changed too much, because for RCB he was delivering very well and suddenly he's gone off the boil.
He's gone off I wouldn't say he's gone off the boil. He's hardly had any opportunities to bat, really. Like the last couple of games, he hasn't had a chance to bat. He came in really early against England on a wicket that was doing a little bit as well. Like in the end, for Glenn Maxwell, you want him coming in through the middle overs like he was for RCB. He was coming in like at the earliest in the sixth over and then going through the middle. And when Glenn Maxwell's batting through the middle and he's confident and he's allowed to play with absolute freedom, playing his reverse sweeps, playing all the shots that he's got, then he's so dynamic and devastating. So he just hasn't had much of a chance. There was one or two. The game against Sri Lanka, he's just caught in between two minds. It's a great field placing that had three on the offside, so it shut down that reverse sweep. So then he half hit a ball out to the leg side. So Maxwell's just he hasn't been able to find his groove yet. But in a big game, if he's able to come in at the right time, and for Pakistan, they're going to want to try and get him into the game in the power play while the ball's still moving around. But I believe Australia should, if they lose 2 early wickets and Maxwell could come in because of where he's batting, I think they should throw up Matthew Wade to protect Glenn Maxwell, to make sure, give it every chance to be able to get Maxwell only into those middle overs. Last time against England, they didn't, and Maxwell came in when the ball was still moving around and he was too exposed. Glenn Maxwell was way too valuable to expose him to the brand new ball. He's as good as anyone in the world through those middle overs. So I believe Australia have got to do whatever they can to try and make sure that they get him only in those middle overs. So for me, Maxwell, he just hasn't had much of an opportunity the last couple of games. Opportunity arises to come in at the right time. Him up against Shadab, also emailed by Zim in particular, and he'll probably be up against Harris Ralph, because I reckon they'll save at least 1 or 2 overs for Glenn Maxwell to be able to try and take him out of the game and get him out just with the sheer pace and speed that he's got. So from Australia's point of view, I reckon there's a big innings for Glenn Maxwell through those middle overs.
All right, we discussed about what Australia has to do now. If you are Hayden, what advice you would say that this is the flaw in the Australian team? What do you do to stop the Warners, the Finch, and probably Mitchell Marsh, who've been doing well, or the fast bowlers?
I'll be saying to Pakistan, just keep doing exactly what you're doing. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to play any better. You don't need to be better than what you've been. If Pakistan are able to execute the skills that they've been doing throughout the whole tournament, it will be good enough to beat Australia, because they've been that good. And the whole balance of their team, from a bowling perspective, they've got every base covered from a bowling perspective. They've got 2 guys who are bowling 150 Ks. The weak link, from my perspective, for Pakistan is Hassan Ali. He's a skillful bowler, but he needs to execute his balls perfectly. Otherwise, he can go. He can go for a lot of runs. But then they've got Shadab Khan, who's been outstanding as a wicket taker, not going for many runs at all, containing them as well. And Imad Wazim has been brilliant as well. So from a bowling perspective, they've just got to keep doing what they're doing, because it's been outstanding. And then from a batting perspective, I'd be saying the same thing. Just keep doing what you're doing, because everyone's put their hand up when they've needed to. Babar Azam, yes, he's been outstanding. He's got the highest runs, 264 runs in the tournament so far. Rizwan's been incredible as well. But then the 2 question marks that I had over the Pakistan team was Mohammad Hafiz and Shoaib Malik's power hitting ability sort of through the middle overs and at the end. They're striking at 220 and 240 throughout the whole tournament. And then combined with that, Asif Ali, goodness me, he's come good as well. Asif Ali is an incredible striker of the ball. So all the question marks that I sort of had around the Pakistan team, they've been dominant. They've been right on their game. So from a Pakistan's perspective, they don't need to do anything different. They've just got to find that way to be able to continue to be at their best. And if they do that, I think it's nearly going to be impossible to beat them because they've just got every base covered.
All right. But in the knockouts tournaments of an ICC, Australia have the wood over Pakistan. And that's semi-final where Michael Hussey robbed them or probably snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. I'm sure you were part of that squad. Yeah. Will that still be going in their mind, or do you think it's a fresh game, or forget the 2015 quarterfinal in Adelaide, or the other knockouts in 87, on whichever games? I still don't remember. One more game you all have beaten them, but it's always Australia in the knockout. So that runs through a mind that a knockout game Australia has got better of Pakistan. How do Pakistan overcome that?
I think deep down it would be. I think deep down it would be in the back of the Pakistan cricketers' minds, knowing that Australia in these big tournaments have always been so dominant in knockout games. They've always just found a way to get across the line. And you talk about like the 99 World Cup final.
The final, 99.
The 99 World Cup final. So those little scars would be there for sure, knowing that even if they've had a great tournament and they've normally had a quality side in all these tournaments, Australia's always just held their nerve for longer. And that's why Pakistan, even though they've been so dominant, they've been playing so well, they wouldn't have wanted to face Australia in this knockout game up until the final, more so because they know that Australia in the past have stood up in these big tournaments and done it consistently, like the 2015 World Cup in particular, and then obviously the history going back as well. So that's going to be, and that's why it's going to be so important for Australia to be able to start well and not allow Pakistan to get into the game. Because if Australia start well, a few of those questions might be asked a little bit earlier. Is like, can we actually beat this Australian team? Because in the history of cricket, we haven't been able to get across the line in these big events, in these big games. So that's Australia going to be trying to prey on that for sure. And that's why starting well in both innings, bat and ball, if Australia start well, those questions might start to be asked.
Very well said, Watto. Toss again plays a crucial thing in Dubai.
Yeah, it has. Like unfortunately, the numbers, it's hard to, they don't lie at the moment. Every team, apart from one time, every team who's batted first, it's been a big challenge. So the good thing is, from a cricket perspective, is the wickets has become really, really good. That's at the start of the tournament, there was a lot of moisture. Now the wickets are really good. So as long as the dew sort of stays away, then I don't think the toss will have as much of an impact as it had at the start of the tournament in particular, because the wicket will be really, really good from ball one all the way through to the 40th over. If the dew comes in a little bit. So from that perspective, yes, the mind games might be there. If the team loses the toss and have to bat first, they might be a tiny bit deflated just knowing those numbers. But from the wicket itself, it shouldn't really play much of a part, the toss. But there might be a few mental sort of questions that are asked for the team that doesn't win the toss, because they're going to have to bat first and bat incredibly well. But as I said, the wicket's really good. So I'd be surprised if the team batting first wasn't able to set a really good total.
All right, Watto, before we sign off, Pakistan's 16 games without a loss in UAE. Australia, 4 ICC knockout have beaten Pakistan. Pick your choice.
Australia. I don't need to think. Pakistan have been incredible and they've been so dominant, but Australia, they're hitting their straps at the right time. Warner is on fire. His innings against West Indies was outstanding. Mitchell Starc's really got his rhythm. He's got his rhythm going as well. So his ability to swing that new ball and knock over Babar Azam and Rizwan, he's going to be ready to go as well. So the right things are coming together at the right time. So Australia.
So who will be that man of the match for Australia if you say Australia? That X factor player who will take that game away? Will it be Starc? Will it be Warner? Or will it be the Big Show or Mitchell Marsh? That one player
I
you
think
think
it'll be
today will be the shining
okay,
star for
well,
Australia?
Okay, well, Mitchell Starc. I hope Mitchell Starc, and then from a batting perspective, the match winner from the with the bat, Glenn Maxwell.
All right. Thank you so much, Shane, for all your insights. And every insight has been so fabulous and up to the mark. We'll definitely catch up with you tomorrow for the post-match. You have a great day and have a great game at the Dubai Cricket Stadium.
Awesome. Good on you, Dennis. I look forward to it.